Hello, my name is Natalie Vartanian. I'm the Community Engagement Manager at CORE. And I wanted to hop on to talk about something that I see a lot of women struggling with, especially the last year, going through some really challenging times. And it's not putting ourselves first, not prioritizing ourselves. And why is that? Why is it so hard for women to prioritize ourselves? And let's face it, life gets busy, right? We all have some kind of a combination of things where we have family, friends, children, hobbies, communities, passion projects, service projects, whatever that is, right? Like that we're juggling. We're just constantly juggling. But when we're juggling that many priorities, we're usually we get put down on the priority list, right? Because every time we're saying yes to someone else, and it feels so easy to say yes to everyone else, especially having a big heart and being generous, right? But we inadvertently are then saying no to ourselves, right? When we say yes to someone else or something else, we're saying no to ourselves a lot of the times. Um, and that is a problem when it's at the expense of our care, of our well being, of our vitality, and there's a part of that that comes from this not wanting to disappoint other people, and also maybe just like not wanting to feel selfish. Like I know that I did that. I've done that so many times where I'm like, I don't want them to think that I'm a bad person, or that I don't care, or that I'm going to take care of me, and because you can handle it on your own, or whatever stories I would make up about that, right? And it was then hard to say no. And and so we have to be real about that, and that part, that's like a strategy. At CORE we talk about, we have three selves. We have our healthy self, then the wounded self that kind of came out because of a hurt that happened, right? And it just is hurting. And then the survivor self, and that's the part that's created a bunch of plans and strategies so that we never feel hurt again. And so sometimes, us not prioritizing ourselves can also be a strategy so that we don't have to look at ourselves. We don't have to tend to the parts that hurt. We don't have to pay attention. It's just easier. I'm paying attention over here, and like I get points for being a good person, and it just, so it gets slippery. That survivor part can get really slippery. But what happens is, and the reason that I wanted to talk about this today is we don't realize the effect that it then has, right? And it comes at a cost. It comes at a cost because we end up exhausted because there's no downtime, right? We're constantly taking care of everything and everyone else. And then all we can think about is like, when can I go to sleep? Or when can I take a nap? Or we pass on things, like things we actually want to do. We start passing on because we just don't have the energy, right? And so that's a cost that's happening when we're prioritizing other people, and then we build resentment and we get annoyed at people's requests. And then, like, have you found yourself where, you're such a generous person, but there comes a time where someone asks you for something, you're like, really now, or whatever version of that, where we're just now annoyed, and not wanting anyone to ask us for anything, and so you're finding yourself short-tempered about it, and then there's the overwhelm feeling. We feel overwhelmed. Like, how are we going to get to everything, all the things, and really then becoming afraid we're reaching a breaking point, right? And to me, the saddest part is now we're losing passion and vitality for our life, right? We're just kind of like dragging. We're like, there's no juice left, and we're not doing the things that turn us on and fill us up, right? And so it just keeps perpetuating that cycle. Thankfully, there's solutions to this. There's things we can do to shift this. And the first one seems straightforward, but it's not easy, is to actually carve out time, right? Even if it's like 30 minutes or an hour, but saying no to some things so you can say yes to yourself. And the reason that's hard sometimes is because there's guilt. So the second step is to notice and not get hooked by the guilt, right? Get over the guilt. Start by honoring that that's inevitable, right? Women are conditioned to give and to be the emotional support for their families and communities. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And though that creates a sense of burden and a feeling of responsibility that's actually not ours, you know? And so it's inevitable. That's the first place to start, realizing that that guilt is inevitable. And the next step is to acknowledge that for you, what is healthy would be to carve out time for yourself, right? Like tend to your mental and emotional health. Go take a bath, go for a walk, you know, even if it's like being with people, but because that's what you want to do and that fills you up, right? Like really kind of slowing down. Because when you can pull the guilt out, you can actually then be with what's actually true for yourself, you know, and you can really tune into what you're thinking and feeling and needing versus that survivor that's like gonna start creating a strategy, right? And we think we're the only ones feeling like this, but we're not. This is such a universal thing for women. And I think that's the other thing that I just want to give permission to anyone listening, that we're all feeling this, you know, and which is another reason to then remind yourself that, you know, just in the same way you would see a sister of yours or an aunt or um, a cousin or a friend or a colleague or anyone, and you're like, wow, they deserve so much love and care and attention. Well, you do too, you know? And so it's like reminding yourself, like, we also deserve that, you know? We think everyone else does. That's why we give, because we're like, everyone deserves love and care and attention. Well, and we do too, right? So, like, really putting yourselves in the shoes that you put everyone else in that way, you know, and to surround yourself with other women that get that prioritizing ourselves is so important, right? Because I have girlfriends that will be like, hey, you seem a little fried. You might want to take a little bit of a break, you know, or whatever. And so having people in your community that also remind you of that, right? And kind of keep you accountable to that. And the last thing I'll say is join a group of women doing that work, doing the work to then like take care of their mental and emotional health. You know, at CORE, we have our 2-day immersion weekends, and it's a beautiful way to have a space where you can carve out just for yourself, just so you can focus on yourself. You know, you can look at the things that are working and not working, shed some of the shoulds around your life, you know, get clear on the things that light you up, and if anything, just giving yourself just space, you know, and permission to do something that's just for you. So you can find our immersions on our website, coreexperience.com. You can also go to the calendar and it gives a list of events, but we would love for you to join us. We have 2-day immersions for women that we hold. And it's a great way to just have this experience of prioritizing yourself and also looking at what is it that keeps you from prioritizing yourself, right? And then doing the work to let some of that go. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this serves as just a reminder to put yourself first, because when we're full, we can really come to the rest of our lives from that full place and just a much more joyful, generous place. Okay. Have an amazing day and hope to talk to you soon.